The Edmonton Oilers right now are waiting. They're in the pregame. They are almost ready to drop the puck against the New Jersey Devils. But whilst this game was getting set to begin, we had ourselves a trade. Take a look at this. The Oilers, just 10 minutes ago, at the same time that the game is going to begin, or it was supposed to begin, against New Jersey, the Oilers made a trade with the Philadelphia Flyers. Blockbuster right here, baby. Go down to the Blockbuster, rent your movies, have a great time with your buds, and then return it later, because the Oilers have acquired defenseman Ronnie Attard from the Philadelphia Flyers in exchange for Ben Gleason. And this is as minor of a trade as a minor trade is going to get. But I did want to talk about this, firstly, because it is a real trade. It did happen just a while ago, and there are some people going out there and giving some pretty interesting responses. Darn, I actually wanted to give Gleason a shot. Big win. These are all mostly Oilers fans replying because, of course, it's on the Oilers Twitter account. The Oilers fleeced the Flyers. Explain this for those of us that don't follow prospects. We had ourselves a pretty interesting report here from Alexander Eddy. Ben Gleason was one of the Oilers' better offensive defensemen on the farm, but realistically, he is an AHL top 4 guy. What sucks is that the Oilers need forwards down here, not more D-men. We were already sitting one every night since Philip and Iginla went up, and one playing as a forward. Now, all Bakersfield Condors talk aside, I wanted to dive into Ben Gleason as well as Ronnie Attard, especially with Attard. I think he's a really underrated pickup here for Edmonton, and I wanted to get to why that is. But starting things out here, Ben Gleason, 26 years old, 6'1", 190, left-handed guy, signed on till the end of this season, making $775,000. He is now going to be in the Philadelphia Flyers organization after posting up 4 points in 7 games with Bakersfield. It's true that Ben Gleason has pretty much been a solid to even really good AHL caliber defenseman, maxing out at 44 points in 70 games with the Texas Stars in 2021-2022. If you go over to that season, I mean, you'll see some pretty notable names that are now in the National Hockey League. Ty Dellandrea, of course. Riley Tufte had a small stint a little bit. Thomas Harley also was a part of this team. And then you also had Matt Murray and Jake Ottinger. No, not Matt Murray, the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Maple Leafs Matt Murray, but the other one. There are 2. Oh yeah, Ben Bishop also was a part of that team. That's interesting. But Ben Gleason was one of the best players on that Texas Stars team. He then found himself over in Edmonton playing for the Bakersfield Condors, 32 points in 62 games last season, and this season he would have been on pace for 40 points. I do kind of question, how was it that Gleason found himself in Edmonton? Was he just signed in free agency, or was there a trade? Yeah, okay, he was just signed in free agency a few years ago. But Ben Gleason is one of these guys that did round himself out as one of the better defensemen in Bakersfield, but at 26 years old, you could realistically say that his ceiling is kind of just going to be in that AHL caliber level. If he plays any other NHL games, as he did like in 2018-19, then I don't necessarily think Gleason is going to have the biggest role. However, when it comes to the guy that the Oilers are replacing Gleason with in their organization, I wanted to get into a conversation about Ronnie Attard. Mostly because, even though he is just a year younger than Gleason, he's 25, 6'3", 207, right-handed guy instead. Also signed on till the end of this season, making $850,000, so just a little bit of a pay increase there. Ronnie Attard always stood out to me as a prospect in the 2019 NHL Draft. He was drafted 3rd round, 72nd overall, and if you're doing the math here, 2019, even though he was a 1999 March birth date, he actually was eligible for the 2017 NHL Draft, but he wasn't drafted out of the USHL in those years. He only had 5 points in 46 games in his draft-eligible season, so it was really kind of difficult to even project this guy getting any sort of a role. However, the next season, he slowly improved to 15 points in 50 games played. Again, not really draft-worthy. The season after, though, as the captain for the Tri-City Storm, this is when Attard exploded. He had 64 points, 48 games. He was already, I think, 19 turning 20 in this season, so it was already seen as a much more risky pick, which is why he ended up slipping to the 3rd round despite producing so much. He was a double overage player and an offensive defenseman who was dominating in the U.S. junior level. He wasn't even in the NCAA yet. He found himself on Western Michigan University for the next 3 seasons, maxing out as a 36-point in 39-game guy, and then got a quick cup of coffee with the Flyers at the end of that 21-22 season, scoring 4 points in 15 games. I was always a really big fan of the way Ronnie Attard manned the power play, how he was able to create offense, and his capabilities in the NCAA and USHL levels, but that production had a little bit of a stagnating time translating to higher levels of play. He played with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms in 22-23, 32 points in 68 games over there, slowly found himself getting more of a chance with Philadelphia. The next season he had 12 games played and only 2 points, but 27 points in 48 AHL games. So you could see that his point production in the American Hockey League was slowly getting better. He was getting a tad more production as the years went on. But this season, this is where things kind of took a turn for the worst. 0 points, 7 games in Lehigh Valley, and you want to talk about a guy whose potential just kind of stagnated and then fizzled out a little bit. You can say that Ronnie Attard's season this year is kind of exactly that. It was really unfortunate to see him not producing as much and not looking as good. But if you go over to Lehigh Valley, I mean, you can see some other guys that really started to take control of this team point production-wise. Not too many of these guys are defensemen, but there are more defensemen who have scored more points than this Ronnie Attard. I mean, you have Ethan Sampson, Helge Grans, top prospect over there formerly as well. Hunter McDonald has been doing some pretty okay things. You can't really say any of this production has been amazing since, 3 points in 8 games. 2 points in 8 games. It's not the best, but it's still a lot better than Ronnie Attard's 0 points in 7 games. I'm under the impression here that Lehigh Valley just hasn't really been all too good this season, and if we can check that out, yeah, they are 5th place in the Atlantic Division, and if you wanted to map it out entirely, 8 points, yeah, they're not really doing all too hot. And Ronnie Attard, I guess you could say, is one of the pieces that is caught in that crossfire. So he's going over to Edmonton. There's going to be more of an offensive opportunity there. I want to say if the Bakersfield Condors have more of a use for a prime right-handed offensively leaning guy, then Ronnie Attard could definitely be that. Ben Gleason, I will say, left-handed dude, a little bit smaller. Good point production too. I don't want to discredit Ben Gleason's offensive productivity, but he is just a tad older, actually only by a year, but Ben Gleason is a lot more of a veteran in the AHL. The fact that Ronnie Attard was spending so much time developing in the USHL and the NCAA gives a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt there, so I guess if the Oilers are wanting to capitalize on that, they say, hey, we have some offensive-leaning defensemen already, like Evan Bouchard, maybe there could be some sort of guidance in that mold. We saw Bouchard develop in a certain way in Bakersfield, maybe Ronnie Attard can do similar things there. The clock is ticking, though. He's 25 years old already, but at the end of the day, this is the trade. Ronnie Attard and Ben Gleason getting swapped from Philadelphia to Edmonton. I guess for Philadelphia, you're getting more of a leadership veteran guy, a guy who's sort of rounded himself out in the AHL a lot longer than Attard, so there's some sort of a veteran experience that you could get out of that. And then for Edmonton, they're swinging higher on the offensive-leaning defenseman. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this trade over here? A lot of people going out there and talking about who's that? Solid trade, not familiar with him. A lot of people don't really have much to say, I would say, about a Ronnie Attard for Ben Gleason trade, but I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway, how do you feel about this swap between Edmonton and Philly? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.